Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Plymouth Community School Board for March 1, 2016. If you'll join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first item is to set the agenda. Any additions or corrections?
We've got one deletion. Mr. Shope doesn't have any great big summer projects that he's doing. We've already started most of the big projects we worked on, so that will be taken off the agenda for tonight.
With that amendment, I entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 1.3, audience participation. Anyone here want to discuss any agenda items this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Laura Craig, I'd like to speak during the legislative report, item 3.13.
Thank you. Hopefully you guys all figure it out. Anybody else? If not, we'll have another opportunity at the end of the session. Okay, moving on to our consent agenda under section 2. Any items within the consent agenda board member would like to pull out and have considered separately? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Any questions or comments? Quiet lunch. Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, moving into business transactions. This evening, our first item is focus on learning. who's
Mr.
taking
Gall,
charge?
would you
Mr. Gall.
mind introducing your?
Yeah, I'm going to introduce Beth Corbett, our science facilitator in the Innovation Academy, and she's here with 4 of our students to highlight our science fair.
So we had our students participate in a school-wide science fair. All 7th grade students participated. From there, we voted on our top. We voted on our top projects, and then our top 3 projects were invited to move on to Notre Dame. Notre Dame holds their own science fair as well. So all of these ladies, we had one extra group actually that couldn't be here tonight. They presented at the Notre Dame Science Fair. We had a first place, second place, and a third place ribbon. And then one of our groups actually also got the Watercrest Award. They did a project on erosion, and so they had a separate award as well. So no one moved on from Notre Dame. There were only a couple of groups that could do that, and they were mostly in the senior division. But it was a very good experience. We learned a lot. It was a long day, but it was good. The parents drove them all up and took care, so thank you for doing that. So they wanted to share their projects with you tonight as well. So we'll go ahead and let graffiti removal go first. You're just going to set your board right up on the table up there.
Which way?
Why don't you put up on one that says media right there?
No, you
Oh,
this way.
Towards it.
towards it. Okay, yeah.
So, hello, I'm Emma Gianda.
I'm Taylor Mayer.
And our project is on graffiti removal.
So our question was, what different cleaning solutions remove graffiti the best? Our hypothesis was that WD-40 would work the best. We anticipated this because we're familiar with the greasy substance.
Okay, so some background research. First of all, citrus-based cleaning solutions such as natural orange extract are known as a good prep before applying any cleaning solvent. When cleaning up graffiti, you can use a variety of different removers, but WD-40, Dufop, and 3-in-1 work just as well as any other solvent. And safety-wise, keep the solvents away from smoke and open flames because they can be flammable.
So some of our materials that we use Valspar paint for high gloss spray paint, Goof Off, WD-40 aerosol smart straw, an Imperial 24-inch by 36-inch flat sheet, water, palm oil 25-ounce, orange dish soap, and what was convenient about it is it has a orange extract in it that is also known for taking the food off of things. Tide detergent, laundry, refreshing Febreze, Blue Hawk stainless steel wire brush, sandpaper, gloves, and paper towels. So our results were that we found that Goof Off took the most off, Tide detergent took the second most off, and Goof or WD-40 took off the least, disproving our hypothesis.
So our procedure was we first sanded the sheet metal because without it, the graffiti would have no grip to stick. We then prepped it with the palm olive and water dish soap. Then we waited 14 hours until we did our next step. We did this because we don't figure people find graffiti 5 minutes after it happens. They usually find it like the next day or so. So that's why we did that. And then the next day, we applied the 3 solvents to each of the words and rubbed it with a wire brush for a minute and applied the rest of the solvent. And then wiped it off to find our results. So our conclusion was, here are some closing thoughts. So our topic was on graffiti, and we looked specifically what things can remove graffiti. We chose to use Tide detergent, Goof Off, and WD-40 for the experiment. Here's exactly what our hypothesis was. What different cleaning solutions can remove graffiti the best? Based on our background research we did before conducting the experiment, we resulted in a hypothesis of that. We thought this because it is a substance we are familiar with and is greasy. To continue, we then started planning our experiment's procedure, which in shorter terms was to just sand it, apply the soap, and then apply the substances. And then our results were that the Goof Off removed the words completely. In summation, we thought this was a very good project that could help our community or even our world with just a short and simple process. And then, I don't know if you guys can really see it, but that's our results picture.
So Goof Off was up here, Tide detergent was here, and then WD-40
So that would conclude our presentation.
Very good. I have a question. What was the material that you put it on? Was it steel?
It was metal. The sheet
Metal?
It was a piece of sheet metal.
Gotcha. Like a bathroom or something, if someone might spray.
I don't know. We just figure like, I mean, I know this isn't the same exact thing, but I mean, trains are made of metal, so we figure we don't want to use brick because brick is a really rough substance, which would be really hard to get the graffiti off of, and it could deteriorate it. So we chose the sheet metal for those reasons.
Nice project.
Thank you.
Very good.
And our second group tonight did some work on taste buds and how your taste buds work. So if you're these guys are actually down to number 2. One went home sick yesterday, so that was good.
Hi, I'm Clay Garner. These are my partners Ava LeMaco and Michaela Wilson. Our project was on taste buds and how they work, and we called it Check and Taste Buddy.
So before we began the project, we had to look up some background information. We found that taste buds are small nerve endings on your tongue that help you perceive many different tastes. On a taste bud, there's a little hair poking out of it. So when you drink or eat some food, it touches that hair and sends a signal to your brain saying you're eating something really sweet, something sour, or something like that. The average person has around 10,000 taste buds, and they get shed every 2 weeks or so. Genes and experience can also affect your taste buds. Combined with your sense of smell, taste buds help you survive.
So, our question throughout this project was if people would be able to identify what they're tasting without their sense of smell. Our hypothesis was that they would not be able to. Throughout the project, we also had to use many materials. The foods that we used were tomato juice, lemon juice, soy sauce, salsa, and honey. We also required paper towels, plastic containers, blindfolds, water, cups, and jumpers. We experimented on a total of 15 test subjects.
So first we had to find our 15 different test subjects that we tested on, and we used all 7th graders to keep the age groups more reliable. After that, individually, we blindfolded each test subject and had them plug their nose and stick out their tongue, which they did. Then we poured the 5 liquids into their own separate plastic container and used the dropper to drop some liquid onto the test subject's tongue. After that, we asked the test subject to identify what we dropped on their tongue. After they did so, we poured a cup of water and we had the test subject drink the water in order to leave their taste buds refreshed for the next liquid.
So the results were 45.4% of the test subjects correctly identified the liquid. Soy sauce received 4 out of 15 correct guesses. Tomato juice and lemon juice received 6 out of 15 correct guesses. Honey received 10 out of 15 correct guesses, and salsa received 8 out of 15 correct guesses.
Our hypothesis was proven correct because only 45.4% of our test subjects were able to identify what they had dropped on their tongue, which is less than half.
The reason that we did this was because we were wondering if people would actually be able to identify what they're tasting without their sense of smell, even though it hasn't been mathematically possible.
So if we ever did the project again, we'd ask some further questions. Does age matter? So do teenagers have better or worse taste buds than grown adults and vice versa? So during our experiment, we did not provide a set time limit for the test subjects, so they had a broad amount of time to identify the liquid. So would it be easier or more difficult if, say, they only had 5 seconds to identify the liquid on their tongue? And also, soy sauce was the least identifiable liquid. Is that because soy sauce, people don't know what it is, or saltier foods harder to identify?
And next time we do the project, we need to fix one thing, that we didn't provide a time limit. If one person had 5 seconds to answer and another person had 10 seconds to answer, then the second person would probably have a more reliable answer. So if we had a set time limit, then our answers would be more reliable.
That concludes the presentation. Are there any questions?
So how many kids did you have do this?
15.
15?
Yeah. And before we did it, we had a survey of like 50 random liquids and foods. So they chose if they had any allergies or any problems with the liquid. So they wouldn't know the liquid, but we knew if they had an allergy to it.
Did you guys try it as well?
No.
Dropped on your tongue? I don't blame you.
Did you say we lose our taste buds or they shed every
Yeah,
time?
they
yeah,
shed
I
every
did not
time.
know.
Where do they go?
And does that happen more rapidly for someone who's like us?
How did you guys make your posters? I didn't ask you that, but I mean, did you do all the typing and put it all together and everything? How did you know how to design it? Was there a format that you had to follow?
Yeah.
Do you want to do it again next year, or can you? Is it only for
I think it's only for some.
seventh graders?
It's fall reading.
Oh,
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good report. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry? That would be mean. Couldn't do our little test. All right, let's move on. 3.2, consider school improvement plans.
Yes, building principals worked with their leadership teams to create school improvement plans. They are attached to board docs, and we ask for your approval.
Okay.
They are actually 15-16 school improvement plans. They're a lot later than typical. Typically, it's done in the fall, but the timeline got moved back for the state, so.
Okay. Well, these were part of our package to review. My hesitation, I thought there was going to be some discussion or presentation on it, so I'm just catching up here. Let's get it on the floor. Is there a motion?
Second.
Have motion and second to accept or approve the improvement plans as presented. Any discussion or comment? So you've answered one. I mean, the timing, help me again, the timing of these, here we are, March 1st.
Yeah, so originally they told us that we were,
The week we started ISTEP.
Yeah.
originally we were supposed to submit our school improvement plans using a software called Assist. And then they changed that, so they extended it to give everybody time to get acclimated to the software. And then they changed their mind, and now we have to submit them through DOE online.
So it's been a very up and down process.
So, now what?
So now what they're telling us now is that hopefully next year, everyone will be submitting their school improvement plans through Assist
Right.
in the fall, which makes sense.
I feel like everybody feels the same way? Okay. I'm useless at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Just so I understand. All right, we have motion and second to accept. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 3.3, permission to hire.
Yes, I said that, at about this time, I would ask permission to hire the following people, or the following positions. We have one elementary PE, one elementary music, one high school business trades, one intermediate school assistant principal, one elementary special ed teacher, 3 elementary teachers, and I'm not sure if we'll hire all 3 of those right away, but since there's 3, we'll get started and seeing who's out there. 3 high school teachers and 1 intermediate teacher then. So with your permission, the principals will advertise and probably when we get back from spring break, be ready to start interviewing.
So,
Second.
have motion and second. So these are all replacements, correct?
These are all either retirees, I believe there are 9 retirements, the 8 that we deal with, and then the 3rd building trades teacher is actually a teacher who's hired by Kinsella. But then the others are, if we, like we have one teacher who's getting married, she's already told us that she's moving to Chicago because he's got a lucrative job there, and so people like that. I'm sure there'll be others because we have a lot of young teachers whose boyfriends don't live around here.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I think it's imperative, once you know you have those openings, to move as fast as you can to get better quality people. So I think it's good that you get an early start.
Certainly doesn't seem to be a flood of people to choose from. So. All right, we have motion and second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 3.4, consider certified staff stipend.
As a result of the professional negotiations process, teachers who were with us last year and are still with us this year will receive a stipend based on the 2014-2015 evaluations and the amount of professional development they were involved in. So there will be 3 amounts, $335.50 stipend for being involved in professional development. Having an effective or highly effective on their evaluation would be $575.93 stipend. And then the 2 of those put together is $911.43. So if they had the correct hours of professional development and a highly effective or effective evaluation, they would get that highest amount. The reason the numbers look odd is that in order to give out the amount of money we bargained with and then apply it to people, that we usually try to get, like, say, $350 rather than $343.11. But we evaluate, or we negotiated an amount that's we would spend on stipends. So that's why they're odd amounts.
Huh? So the total amount was negotiated and then divided
Yes.
as opposed to the individual amount and then multiplied.
Correct.
All right. Gotcha. We haven't had any action.
Yeah, we've actually done, we actually okayed the contract. And this was in the contract, but I wanted to know the amount. So we can take we should have this a business item. You can vote for it.
Okay.
I move to approve. Second.
Okay, so we have motion and second, so that, I mean, that, we've already kind of gone through this, so now we have the numbers and this is, yeah, so when will these occur?
Candy, when will they be given out?
Soon?
They were,
Sorry?
because they were because it was already in a negotiated item that you had,
Oh, that's right.
and because we got the performance eval from the state that we had to pay out in 20 days.
Okay.
So we just did it all at once,
Okay.
okay? That's why. I wouldn't have done it otherwise, but that performance grant came in and we had 20 days to get it paid out.
Our offices aren't right next to each other or anything.
So we, let's go, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
On to 3.5, for the administration.
Certified administrative stipend, so my recommendation for the administrators, all administrators except myself, and I don't want any, I don't want a stipend, please, would be $900 apiece because they were involved in the professional development, all hours of professional development, and they were all rated effective or highly effective.
So in essence, the same amount in both categories.
Yeah.
roughly.
I made it in the
Yeah, I see that. You've heard the recommendation, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, questions or discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion
And
carries.
those have not been paid out.
I wasn't gonna ask.
I'm just preemptive.
Thank you. Item 3.6 for classified stipend.
Yes, it's recommended that all classified staff receive a stipend based on their months worked and their evaluation. So there ended up being 5 different categories, from the lowest number of hours to somebody that works 12 months a year, 40 hours a week. So the lowest amount of time would be a $300 stipend, and then it works up to a $400 stipend, a $500 stipend, a $700 stipend, and for the people that work the full year and 40 hours a week would be a $900 stipend. And we'd already given the bus drivers a raise for this. They're the only ones that aren't going to get a stipend because, not the bus drivers, sorry, the bus drivers will get a stipend. The substitute teachers, because we'd already given them a raise earlier.
So moved. Second.
That motion is second. Questions or discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 3.7, report on elementary ISTEP data.
Yes, last month I presented the 14-15 ISTEP data from the district perspective. Tonight we have our elementary principals to present on their individual schools' ISTEP data. We're going to start off with Jefferson, so Mills.
Alphabetically, I always get to go.
Yes, Jefferson Elementary first.
This evening I will be presenting on the 2014-15 Jefferson ISTEP results. As you can see, our overall data, in the 14-15 school year, Indiana transitioned to new college and career-ready standards. Because this new test is over new standards, we are showing a comparison of Jefferson as compared to the state. Typically, we show you Jefferson compared to the last 30 years. But because the test is different, we are just comparing it to the state average this year. If you look at English language arts, our overall data was above the state average. Math was below, and our students that passed both ELA and math was an area of focus at Jefferson, and it was above state average. If we delve into third grade, ELA was above the state average as well as math and students who passed both. If I look at fourth
math grade results, ELA was below average, as well as math and students who passed both. When we delve a little deeper into the disaggregation data, we're looking at the student subgroups that passed both ELA and math. So if we look at special education, our scores were above the state average, as well as our students that are on free and reduced lunch. English language learners was an area that we saw a decrease from what the state average was. Oops. Sometimes I click too many times in a row. To further address the needs we saw in the district, additional Title I and Title III staff were hired at Jefferson. This added support for research-based interventions. It also allowed for more training and support for classroom teachers, and that has resulted in higher growth of our low-achieving students last year, as indicated by our 4th grade ISTEP. The addition of preschool programs at Jefferson allows us the opportunity to intervene earlier, especially with our students that are bilingual or academically delayed. That allows us to build a strong foundation that helps them in their future success. The third point there is the Think Through Math pilot that was piloted at Jefferson last year in our 3rd grade, and we saw a lot of success. So it was expanded this year to 4th grade and corporation-wide. Each year, like Brooke talked about, we revise our school-wide Title I improvement plan, and we'll be doing that again for the 2015-16 school year, 16-17. We have continued to provide after-school programs in addition to the migrant program. And when we look at our professional development Mondays that were added this year, we have been able to strategically plan based on the goals of our teachers and the areas that we see need. So our lead teachers have had the opportunity to present to teachers in the area of writing, math process standards, and we've also been able to analyze student work samples based on our new curriculum. So we do plan to focus further enrichment programs through high ability funding using Club Invention. We've had success with Project Lead the Way and robotics at Jefferson, so we want to continue to build those opportunities to enrich our students' learning. We know that when they're applying that to the engineering process, that they're building their ability to read and reason through math problems at a higher level. So we want to continue to push our students that are achieving well. I want to thank you for the time allowing me to present some of the strengths at Jefferson and some of our areas that we want to continue to see growth. You'll see the other elementaries present on pieces similar to what I presented, in addition to what we're doing as well. We kind of divvied that up a little bit between us. Are there any questions about items that I've shared tonight?
I don't have any.
Nope. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew.
Good evening, everyone. Happy March.
We'll see.
As you know, I'm going to be going over Menominee's ISTEP results from the 14-15 school year last year. For starters, we have our 3rd and 4th combined overall data in the area of English and language arts. 72.8% of our 3rd and 4th grade students passed the English language arts assessment as compared to the 71.8% state average. In math, we were at 62.5% compared to the state average of 63.9%. And then students who passed both the English language arts and math and math assessment, we were at 57.6% there, which was reflective of the state average. In 3rd grade specifically, 80.3% of our students passed the English language arts assessment, which we're very proud of, compared to that 73.2% state average. 67.1% of our students passed the math in comparison to that 62.6% average. And then 63.2% of our students passed in 3rd grade passed both English language arts and math compared to that 57.5% state average. In 4th grade, 65.3% of our students passed the English language arts assessment. 57.9% of our students passed the math assessment, and then we were at 52% of students passing both of those. And you can see again how that compares to the state averages there. And then our disaggregated data, in our special education, we had 42.9% of our students in 3rd and 4th grade pass both the English language arts and math portions, compared to the 26.9% state average. Our EL students, 47.1% in both grades, passed both assessments, compared to the 45.5% state average. And 41.8% of our free and reduced lunch students passed both in both grade levels, compared to the 43.3% state average. Before I go into next steps, any questions related to those percentages in 3rd, 4th, or both, or the disaggregated data?
Am I seeing a trend? I mean, 3rd high, 4th low. Is both? Is that not a trend, or is that post-school so far?
Yes, that was certainly a trend in my building, and
Washington and Washington.
I don't. Yeah, Carrie's shaking her head, and she'll go over that when she goes over hers. But it was in my building.
Is it too early to dig into that or ask? I don't want to ask a question unfairly here.
You know, I don't. It's not too early. I have not begun to look into that yet in terms of when we're looking at getting our improvement plan for 16, 17, really digging into some of the standards breakdown to get a better understanding of what happened there. I have not got into that work yet. Any other questions related to the percentages there for 3rd, 4th? So next steps, coming into the school year, there were some immediate, obviously short-term things that we're looking to do to have a quicker impact. We have had the good fortune of, within our title grants, writing in Lexia and Think Through Math, which are some adaptive software programs. Webster used Lexia last year, and Jefferson used Think Through Math last year. And both of those programs that we're utilizing within our reading blocks and math blocks and our reading and math interventions provide our teachers an opportunity to really give students some differentiated instruction geared and tailored towards specific deficiencies that a lot of times can be difficult for us to determine or mine out on our own with some of the means that we have. So kids are really getting some, as I said, some differentiated and targeted support in the areas of math and reading. We've implemented targeted instruction and strategies during math intervention. So we've utilized Kathy Hunt, who is our special education teacher. Our special education teachers traditionally operate in an interventionist role where they're providing math, where they're providing reading intervention alongside our Title I interventionists. We have provided her opportunities to give more math instruction during math intervention time to students who need it. And we've also done that with some of our aides. Within the structure of our schedule, we've also built in some more time with that. So we have kind of a balance of structural resources there and human resources we've allocated to ensure that we're giving more support in the area of math in order to bring up those scores. We had, at Menominee specifically, we had a lot of low growth and a lack of high growth across the board. Our students that were in the bottom 25% as well as our students in the top 75%. So we saw a need there to ensure that we were not only supporting our lowest struggling students and our bubble students, but to ensure that we're providing a lot of instruction geared towards helping students progress across the board. So we've made sure to allocate a classroom teacher within our intervention structures to ensure that they're providing high quality enrichment opportunities for our students too, so that we're seeing higher growth out of our students who have shown to pass ISTEP, but still need that push so that we're getting higher scores or a higher percentage of students who are demonstrating high growth. Long-term focuses, we're looking at our school improvement plan and really trying to align our goals for 2016 and 17 towards our curriculum and our learning outcomes that we've identified, as opposed to just the ISTEP and state standardized assessments, in hopes that those then will become the aim and the focus of our collaborative efforts within our collaboration times that our teachers have together. And then we're also looking at improving our collaborative structures and processes to strengthen our core instruction, to improve our efforts in identifying students that are in need of intervention across the board, and then the strategies that we're utilizing again across the board to ensure growth for all students. And then also to ensure our professional development is positively affecting student learning. Any questions related to our next steps?
When you talk about growth for all students and, from one year to the next, et cetera, that's, you're not pulling that from this data. I mean, this is a new test, right? I mean, this is other.
Right.
Yeah.
So we still have growth data from prior year to this year.
Statistically, you shouldn't, Todd, but the state went ahead and compared apples to oranges to get that growth data.
So how reliable is it?
It's not.
Okay.
And we're gonna have the test we get this week is a new test.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Well,
What are we doing? I mean, we've got a statewide test here that, by all accounts, the statewide scores by averages are, in essence, failing.
Yep.
If my kids brought these scores home, we'd be having some serious talks. So what are we doing? This is not for you.
I know.
You happen to be standing there.
Could you answer that, please?
They're rhetorical questions.
Rhetorical questions. Let's continue on.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I will be reviewing WDA ISEP scores. So looking at last year's third and fourth grade scores, overall you can see English language arts was just a little bit below the state average. For then our math scores, there were 66.2% compared to the state average of 63.9. I will say that Washington Discovery Academy, because of multiple years of data, really focused on math last year, so it's good to see that those proportional results went up. And then at the both passing ELA and math, we were right at the state average for that piece. Looking at our third grade, and continuing the pattern that Mr. Samuelson pointed out, our third grade ELA scores were 81.1%, so it's a significant achievement level over the state average. And then our math scores were 66.7 versus 62.6%. And then our both pass rates were above the state average as well. Looking at fourth grade, our ELA scores were 58%, so below the state average, and then our math scores were just barely above, with our overall being a little bit below. We get down to the disaggregation data. Our special education and free and reduced lunch achieved higher than the state average. Our English language learners were 30.3%. One of the things that we've done this year is develop some passion committees where teachers pick some things that they were interested in, and they're working on those things outside of school hours. One of those groups is our English language learner supports. So they put some strategies in place to support those students. Put signage around the building to make them more comfortable, looking at some tutoring opportunities for them, and doing things that we can to reach out to those families so that they're better supported. And so, again, based on that data, that shows that we need to make some growth in that area. Mr. Boyer also stop at this point and just ask if there are any questions at this point before we get into the next steps. So looking at our next steps, as with all PCSC schools, we have our Monday morning professional development, and looking at that, we looked at both the last 3 years of data, also what teachers felt like we needed to focus on. We identified, and if you go back to the fourth grade English language arts results, you can kind of see that there's a bit of pattern of our writing scores, and the way our students perform our writing assessments have not been as high quality as we'd like. So we've developed a school-wide focus on literacy. We looked at what we're doing in our 90-minute reading block, and then also what strategies that we're using to support our students in writing. And so we've used the Smeckens, Christina Smeckens does a lot of professional development around writing, and we've used that as kind of a school-wide focus. Our entire fourth grade team was sent to a 2-day professional development to bring strategies back that they've implemented in their classrooms, but then also are leading in our building. And then our our lead teachers also had a role in implementing that professional development. And so as a building, that's become our one single focus. We feel like if our students are able to read well and then also respond to that reading in well flat out writing, that we're going to see growth in all areas. So that's been one of the things that has been a focus this year. We've also leveraged New Tech Network support. Being a New Tech Network elementary school, one of over 150 schools throughout the country. And so we've had 3 teachers last summer that spent a week in Chicago going through the train the trainer model, to where they gained extra expertise that they bring back into our building. And then Alyssa Mintz, one of our second grade teachers, is actually the only elementary school teacher in the country that is going through the Math Leadership Academy. So she's going through a year-long professional development to look at what are best practices in mathematics that then she can bring back into our classrooms and be a leader in that. Also with math, we're using our curriculum, our performance tasks, and ISTEP-like math prompts in order to prepare our students to apply the knowledge that they're gaining into different settings so that we see those math numbers increase. And then our teachers, the third grade level, because third grade math was a deficit, our third grade teachers have identified small groups of students that need extra intensive support. They've developed lessons to address those things. We've noticed computation has been a consistent weak point, and so we've got some of our Title I aides pulling small groups of students, providing that direct extra instruction in order to help get those students' foundational skills where they need to be. Any questions about anything that I presented?
I don't have anything.
Turn it over to Mrs. McGuire to talk about website.
All right. Okay, I don't think I've used this before, so is it the center
Just-
button?
yeah.
Okay.
The right left.
Oh, okay. So when you look at our scores overall right there, something that you'll see that is kind of interesting and I've never seen in 10 years. Our percentage of students in the whole school, but both grade levels, was the same in passing English, language, arts, and math as it was to passing math. We did not have a single student in the school 3rd or 4th grade who passed math but did not pass the language arts. Does that make sense?
Say it again.
We did not have a single student in our school in 3rd or 4th grade who passed the math but didn't pass the language arts. So that's why you see our percentages at the bottom for passing both are the same as our math. Every student who did pass the math did also pass the language arts. We didn't have any students who passed math but failed language arts.
That's got to be some sort of anomaly.
Isn't that really, I mean, that's really strange. We've never had that
I was
before.
going to call you out as a typo, but it's not.
It is not, no. When Brooke shared them with me, I'm like, well, those are the same numbers on all pages. But, we did not have them. We looked at it, there was not a single student who passed math and not language arts. So, look at 3rd grade, just like I said, and huge difference. I mean, 30% more students passed English language arts than passed the math. That's a big difference. But that was a group of students who had a lot of needs. We had a lot of English language learners, and we did put a lot of our resources with that group of students into English language arts. And because Title I, we weren't school-wide, we were targeted assistants, and we had to use our Title I funds for English language arts, but now we're school-wide, so we can use them for both subject areas. I would expect that to change also, because we can just use the resources a little bit differently than we had before. 4th grade, you can see those same numbers at the bottom. So that bottom number is not an average. They had to have passed both. But you can see on both sides, our English language arts, in 3rd grade, we were 10%, a little over 10% higher than the state average, and in 4th grade, we were 17% higher. So, and then looking at our disaggregation, our special education, I mean, I think we were almost twice as high as the state average, which is really pretty commendable. We were a little low on the English language learners. And then our free and reduced was also above the state average, almost by 10%. So, any questions about just that raw data right there? I look at you because you're always the one who asks the questions.
Yeah,
right?
I thought I had you, but you answered it before you started, so.
Was it that question about how are your numbers the same? Is that a typo? Isn't it really strange? 130 students.
I mean, the explanation makes sense, but I wouldn't have guessed that.
I know you thought, was it just statistically, but it was the same students. I dug through every one of those. So, some of the things that we're doing, providing some additional math support. Like I said, now that we're Title I, we can provide additional math services that we hadn't before. And within that math support specifically, we have one of our interventionists. So we have 2 Title I teachers now, and we have a special education teacher. So 3 interventionists. We always have one of those 3 people running a 3rd grade and a 4th grade math intervention now, and we haven't done that in the past. As well as one of those 3 people is also in our 3rd and 4th grade math block classrooms, so 6 different math blocks for 30 minutes every day. So I think that's really helped. Jefferson said they used Think Through Math, and I would love to show anyone that program. I know it's Jefferson's kind of their baby, but it's really some good higher level thinking, and I think the kids are really developing some really good math problem solving skills. The other thing is we are reviewing math adoption materials. So next year we'll have a new math curriculum. So really paying attention to some of those things, not just our building, but all 4 buildings. I know Tara's really worked with us too to come up with a rubric to really delve into the math adoption materials. And I can say I'm really proud of our teachers at our building that I've seen that have really taken a lot of time to go into the math problem solving, knowing that across the corporation, that's kind of the need right there. And then just continued Title I reading support. Obviously, the group that we saw that was a little bit lower in the disaggregation was that English language learner. So continuing to provide support in the reading blocks with those students. We also have Susie Creek Farm attended the WIDA conference this summer, so using some of those strategies. And one of our second title person that we hired this year, Carrie Osborne, is a certified ELL teacher. She used to be an elementary ELL teacher, so we moved her into that role. So hopefully, and she has some really good knowledge and expertise in working with that group of students. So I think that's a big benefit to our school. And we also, all of the elementaries, we added a new intervention. It's called LLI, Level Literacy Intervention, and other places, it's new to us, but other places have really had a lot of success with that. So we're really hopeful. We're seeing students really doing some higher level thinking with some reading. We're still after school tutoring this year, and then I know the other schools had mentioned that Lexia, we had that piloted in 2 grade levels. In
2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years. I'm trying to think back, but that had been 13, 14, piloted in 2 grade levels at the end of the year, and then expanded it to the whole school, and then all 4 schools. But I really think when you look at some of the growth data that we had, especially our 4th grade is really the only place that the state measures growth, but we had phenomenal growth in the lower 25% of students and the upper 75% of students in our language arts. One thing I did is elementary teachers have to teach every subject, and it's hard to be an expert at everything. So I just, talked with our teachers, and I said, are you a language arts or a math teacher? And they're like, well, I teach both. I'm like, no, if you have to pick one, what do you feel that you are the best at? And just knowing your staff, I only had 2 people in the building who picked math, and that kind of does fit with, what our data is showing us. So we definitely need some professional development in the areas of teaching of math. We're trying to find some kind of systematic way to teach problem solving and just some of the different strategies you can use to solve math problems. Some people that comes naturally and your mind thinks that way, but other people that has to be taught. So we're really trying to focus on that. So I think we have some things that we're going to put into place next year that will be kind of a systemic thing. Questions?
I do not have any.
I have one I'd like to have any of the elementary principals can answer. Said at the beginning that we were working off of the more rigorous standards, and then we saw some math scores that were down further than they've been in the past. Can you explain to the board and me why, what does that mean that we have more rigorous standards? What kind of problems would they want kids to do now that they didn't ask in the future?
Boy, it's funny that you asked that question, because we gave the math portion of the ISTEP today. And I think my words were, it was pretty brutal just seeing what some of that, what they're asking students to do is just multi-step types of things, where they have to use different types of processes, but then they might have to add some things and then subtract a little bit and multiply to be able to get the answer, and it's just really complex. So not just, like the mathematical concepts as far as can I do addition and subtraction, but the whole picture of where do I even start. So if they're struggling at all with the reading or with the vocabulary, they wouldn't even know what to do. I'm like you guys speak to.
The process standards, I think,
Really?
are very rigorous in that they require a different type of thinking, and oftentimes in the same problem, being able to apply multiple mathematical processes and to get a single answer. And so it's difficult, like the problem-solving process that Carrie talked about. How do you start here and work your way through to get to a final answer is something that our students are learning to adjust to, as opposed to it used to be just basic computation, and it was relatively straightforward, and now there's a lot more complexity involved.
And multi-step things, like, they might have only had 4 questions or 4 problems, but multi-steps, and if you missed the first one, there was no way you were going to get the other 3 parts of that question.
Those types of graphics that we would see in the past, that we would start with something simple to start that process, may not have been there. They have started with text that students had to read through and pick out the data that was important and the data to ignore. They're throwing in some more distractors for those students so that they can't just pick out the several numbers to compute to find the answer. There are lots of extra distractors in there that our struggling readers and our second language learners would struggle with even more.
And was that reflective on the test we're seeing the results for here?
This would be the first test.
So what is different in this year's test that we don't know yet?
Well, we don't have the data, so it's hard to really say.
What's different, they made the test off the same standards, but it's a different vendor.
Different vendor,
So you'd like to think that they'd be pretty similar, but we don't know if it has, because we're not allowed.
You'd like to be able to think you could compare, the data from last year and what we get from spring of 2016.
A different vendor could be dramatically different.
Well, tell the state, that's what we keep saying.
Carrie, just for the board's sake, when did we get the new standards?
Get them?
Yeah, when did we start?
April 2014.
When?
Yeah.
April of 2014.
There you go.
And when did we test for those standards?
Spring of 2015.
March, April. So we're testing over what we got brand new the year before.
And really, I don't know that we had finalized ones in April.
Until the summer.
We didn't have finalized ones until after the school year started last year. Finalized ones came out the end of September last school year.
I think they sent out some proposed ones in June, which that's when we put in the curriculum work based on the proposed standards, and then they finalized them.
So, the standards were finalized after the year had already started for the year.
So when you hear on the news of all the testing of the political ping pong ball, it really is, because what they're doing as a state doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not fair to our kids, it's not fair to our teachers, but we're not making any excuses. We're going to go after it the best we can, and now we know what it looks like. It'll help us get there, but they're going to change it, and it may happen again in the legislature this year that they may say, we're going to change it again. So this may not be the end of it.
Did all the ISTEP testing go smoothly today? Were there any glitches?
We're not doing
pencil.
Oh yeah, that's right. Today was.
But because of paper pencil, the testing that we start tomorrow, which is the English Language Arts, those test booklets were delivered to corporation at about noon today. So I know all of us were trying to get test booklets organized and signed and numbers out and everything before we can test tomorrow morning. So yeah, that's a pretty tight timeline. It's all paper pencil this round, at least part 1. Not sure about part 2 in April.
Thank you.
afraid to say anything, I don't want to be in the newspaper.
Write it down, I'll say it.
I think you're aware of my outlook on standardized testing. I've lost my place, I'm so frustrated with all that. Where are we?
3-8.
Let's go the old-fashioned way. 3.8. Well, thank you all. My frustration is not directed at you guys. Thank you for the reports. 3.8, consider appointment to the local bargaining unit-based insurance trust.
Yes, after many years, Mr. Bob McCall is retiring from teaching,
I heard that.
which will mean he will no longer be able to be a trustee for the Mace Insurance. So the PEA has recommended to us that he be replaced by Lauren Cooper. She was here.
Wave your hand.
Yes, there she is. Lauren Cooper. And according to the policy, the trust policy, you have to approve.
Sure. Thank you for doing it. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 3.9, present information on summer school 2016.
Yes, the recommendation for summer school is as follows. The high school will offer the different math classes, the different levels of English, some science classes, social studies class, and speech. We get reimbursed, we're supposed to get reimbursed 100%, actually 105%, if we offer classes that students need for graduation at our school. And then the dates for the high school summer school will be June 13th through, June 13th through July 1st would be the first semester, and then July 5th through July 22nd would be the second semester. And we no longer have the seat time requirement. However, we'll still be going 5 hours those days instead of 4. So they'll go for like an hour, or 3.5 hours, and then they'll go to lunch, and then they'll come back and do a little bit more. We've given them time to get the curriculum in. The elementary, the only thing we're offering is reading, and that's for students who don't pass the iRead test. The dates for the elementary will be June 2nd through June 15th, 2016, and we do provide transportation for students recommended to go to the readings summer school. At the end of that, there is also a time period for testing again, and we get credit for the students who pass it in the summer. There will be United Way told us today that there is enough money to do the, what's it called, countdown to kindergarten, and we'll probably have 2 teachers doing that like we did last year, but we're going to have to work on some funding if we want to be able to do that in the future. So we just got in today, and they don't know when the dates are. We'll have to collaborate with the rest of the schools in the county for that. So, but it's a good summer school list of courses for kids to take.
Are you looking for approval of that, or is
Yes.
it? For the recommendation for summer school, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
That motion is second. Any questions for Dan or on the program? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 3.1, policies and guidelines. Just a few.
Just a few there for second reading. Get these since our last meeting, so if you have to entertain any questions, otherwise.
Looks like a lot of statutory updates.
It is.
I don't have any questions. These are up for approval this evening, so I entertain a motion on the new and revised policies and guidelines.
So moved.
Second. That motion is second. Questions, comments? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 3.11, Lincoln Junior High Health Curriculum.
Yes, Mr. Galt is here to hopefully, I think first we have to have a motion to take it from the table, and then he'll explain where he wants to go from there.
If you recall, this was a discussion on the health curriculum at Lincoln that we tabled, so I need a motion to remove it from the table.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Galt?
Yeah, I just wanted to update you what I've done since last month. I have had discussions with Mr. Tyree, but also our staff as a whole. Took it to our staff discussion just recently, this last week, and it's decided that we're going to, this first year, do it through our health curriculum, okay, which means that it'll be done the last 9 weeks of the school year, from April 11th to April 22nd, through our health, physical education, and wellness. So it'll be the 7th graders that have one of those 3 classes, okay? And they will get that curriculum, okay? And we'll see how it goes, kind of like a pilot or a trial, and try to get it, goes well, try to get it to all of one of our grades in the future.
So not all 7th graders?
Not all 7th graders this year. Okay. The 10 days out of science curriculum was not something that was, well.
Well, at least that'll give you an opportunity to evaluate it and go from there. I would so move.
Got a motion and second for the health curriculum as recommended by Mr. Gall. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for the follow-up. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Project update. Where'd the bleachers go?
Well, interesting, you know, we bid it out to be demolished, and I went out, take a picture last week, I guess, when they first showed up, and just introduced myself to the guy who I thought we had hired, so we see who was out there, and the guy that we hired then bid it out to a company that takes old bleachers, tears them down, refurbishes them, and then sells them in states where there's not a lot of money for schools to have those things. So they get used bleachers. And he said he thought that he had heard that the press box was going to go to the Plymouth Raceway. So it will continue to live on, even though it leaves us. As you know, the athletic booster pavilion was torn down. It wasn't built with footers, so it was cracking and very dangerous. It's been torn down. The restrooms out there where the concession stand, again, it was built on 2 different projects, and they didn't line them up correctly, so there were leaks in the roof, and it just didn't. So after 2 architects told us we'd be better off if we just tore it down. We decided to just go ahead and tear it down. Those things were demolished right on schedule. It's taking a little bit longer for the bleachers and the press box to be torn down. They've got a couple days left, and if we don't get any snow tomorrow, I imagine they'll be out there working again. But then we can start on the rebuilding process, and on the builder's time schedule, that should be the Monday after next. So we're right on schedule for that. You have we have a color rendering, several color renderings. Yeah, this is the first one. This is the view from, well, if you walked out these doors and walked straight over at an angle to the football field, this is what it'll look like. And a couple of things. The reason we brought it up off of the asphalt so far, well, one of the reasons is for safety, so we can have our line up on that concrete instead of having it out in the asphalt. Also, our fence gets almost ruined every year because they push the snow up there to get it out of the way. And now we won't be able, we'll have plenty of room to push the snow, and we won't have to push it up against the fence. And our fence will stay. We'll have a longer life period because we won't be pressing it. And then, because the way it is now, there's no drainage. The sun warms up and it melts out down into that black asphalt, and then at night it freezes, and so you get that dangerous black ice. And we get a lot of slip fall hazards that happen. So now they're going to put drainage in there, so when it starts melting, it'll actually stay, and it'll go down into the ground and into the storm sewer. It won't hit the black paste, asphalt there. And on the, as you can see, this is the bleacher jersey that is going on. So we're not going to see the back of the, you're not going to see all the metal from the infrastructure of the bleachers. And right here, you see this dark spot, that's actually a tunnel that when the team comes out, they'll run through the tunnel and out on the football field.
I think the next picture shows that better.
Okay. Well, you keep it back. Okay. Then this building right here is the new, will be the new concession stand, a combined concession stand. There's the entrance to the field, and then the bleacher, or the building on your right is where the new restrooms will be, and there's going to be 3 times as many restrooms as we have now, and it'll be a very nice place. You won't worry about going in there, and it will have baby changing stations on both sides. All right, go to the next one. This is from an inside view looking out, and he sent this to me because I wanted to get it in. He's not quite there. There's people right there staring at that wall. Really, what they're supposed to be staring at is supposed to be the concession stand, but he didn't get that done in time. But this just shows you an idea of what it's going to look like when you get on the inside. So I think it's going to make an extremely attractive. And really, it didn't cost us very much to put this together. Next, this is an overhead view of the whole thing, and you can see that the kids voted. They give them 3 different designs for the bleacher jersey, and the students voted for welcome to the rock pile. And so it's not just for football, it's not just for track, it's not just for marching band, it's for all groups. So they didn't want footballs on it. They didn't want, because we have so many different groups use it. Wanted to make sure that we kept it so that it was everybody. Over here you can see this is an outside dining area. That entrance right there is for the paramedics. And then you've got the concession stand, and there are 4 sides to the concession stand. 3 of them are covered where they can wait in line, and then there's also some seating underneath there. And then over farther is the entrance and the restrooms. The visiting team is still entered over, as you're looking at it, to the right, and our team will enter right here.
What is this?
That's the outside dining area.
No, under the bleachers.
Oh, there will also be a tunnel instead of, right now you won't, how you get from one side to the other, you walk through in front of the bleachers.
Oh, okay.
We have so much trouble with people standing down there. So it's all the way up against the fence now. And so to get from one place to the other place, you'll walk through there. And there's going to be a system of gates in there. So when it's time for the team to go out, we'll shut the gates so you can't get through going from one side or the other. And the last slide, anybody ready for football? This is sundown and kickoff next August. So.
What I like about this slide is that it looks like natural grass. When you go back to the other one, it looks like we're putting in turf.
Well, actually, Tom, we've got every other stripe. One is grass and the other one's turf. I just tell people we don't have enough money to do an entire turf field, but we're going to put out there what we can.
That's just a few questions I have. Looks great. Thank you. Those look great. Legislative reporting. We'll start.
I can start, sure. Based on a couple of the conversations that we had tonight, obviously what's going on at the state with education is a mess. And one of the things that I've come to realize is that the only thing that we really have figured out is that if we don't speak up, we have no chance of being heard. And so whether it's the standardized testing, or some of the other issues that are in front of the school, or in front of the state legislature, we need to start speaking up. And one of those bills that is currently in front of the House is Senate Bill 10. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's gotten a lot of attention in the social media. It was coupled with House Bill 1004. 1004 was defeated by the Senate when it moved over to the Senate side of the House. And there were promises by the legislative leaders that the bill was dead and Senate Bill 10 would be dead as well. Well, yesterday, Senate Bill 10 was revived in the House, voted out of committee, and likely to be voted on tomorrow. And if no amendments are made to that bill, it's going to go straight to Governor Pence's signature. Now, what is this bill? This bill, in one area, gives the school board unilateral ability to raise the pay of certain teachers in hard-to-fill positions. And it enables them to do that behind closed doors in executive session. And so the concern that PEA has with this is several. One, it's a lack of transparency. If it's passed as it is, without any amendments, enabling that to happen behind closed doors, this is not going to help as far as build relations with the community and with the teachers knowing what's going on. Two, they're not given any extra funding for this. So they're saying, yes, our intent is to help with the teacher shortage so that you can better fill positions, maybe math or science or special needs that are now difficult to fill by adding extra pay to these teachers, but they don't give you the ability to really do it because they're not giving you extra money. So the fear is that we're going to start having schools competing with each other even more and more. And when schools don't get money, extra money from the state, which we did not get new money from the state last year, we may not be able to keep up with other school systems. So there's this attempt to put for really a business model in a school system that does not work. Because ultimately, what it may sound like it's good for teachers, it's good for very few teachers, but it's bad for our students because if teachers start to leave and there's more and more mobility going on, you could have kids sitting in classrooms without certified teachers there to teach them. Because a teacher could come and say, hey, I got this offer from this neighboring school corporation, and they're telling me they're going to give me this, and unless I can get you to match it or do better, I'm gone, even in the year. And that's a big concern that is there. So this bill has so many questions still attached with it. Many contracts already enable flexibility. Our own contract does is we're able to give up to $6,000 more for certain positions if we feel that that is the need. So many contracts already have this flexibility, and there are several superintendents and school boards coming out saying this isn't going to help with the teacher shortage. And so I spent yesterday and today emailing Representative Harmon, who originally voted yes for House Bill 1004. He's now going to have a chance to vote on Senate Bill 10, urging him to vote no for those reasons. I just do not believe it's good for students. And my hope is that as many people possible will join, school board members, superintendents, administrators, teachers, community members, parents, to also email. We have to do it today. We have to do it tomorrow morning. And please urge them to vote no to Senate Bill 10.
I had heard of that, but I thought it was dead.
That's what they came over the weekend saying, yes, we're not going to do
I
it.
can't keep the numbers straight, but the concept I knew about, but I thought that had died.
They revived it in committee.
Now, they revive it in committee, and then what they do is they make a trade-off for something the House wants and something the Senate wants, and they say, if you vote for this, we'll vote for that. And they start playing those games, and you get that lack of transparency. So nothing's ever dead just because it didn't get out of the Senate or the House.
Did Representative Harmon understand her response?
Well, I have not gotten a response from my emails nor my phone call message that was left.
Just a general question, how much do we communicate with him or our reps on these types of matters? Does he ever reach out and, hey, what do you think about this stuff?
We communicate quite a bit with Representative Harmon. I found him to be very responsive when I email him and call him. We gets right back to me. Senator Mishler, he usually has an 8 get back to me. And Senator Head, who has West Township, he's pretty good at getting back to me right away. So, I've taken the position on this that we're not in favor of it because we worked out something in Plymouth that was, supported by both the teachers and the administration, that should be something each school corporation decides is best for them and not a law passed by the state.
I can't imagine that both parties here are not in favor of it, even if it is approved, it's there, it's not something we're going to, I don't think I would ever do that behind that closed door. That would be silly, but thank you for pointing that out. Any other legislation that you wanted to bring up?
No, not yet. It's starting to get to the point where we're having to watch pretty closely.
There's some fiscal ones that our local income tax structure that I think we may be impacted by as is currently, but there's amendments being proposed that let's see how this plays out. But on our behalf and for others, I'm not a lobbyist, but certainly have expressed my concerns and proposed amendments on that. So. Anything else? Thank you. Superintendent remarks.
All right. 4.1, commitment to students. Whoops, it didn't come up for me. There we go. Recently, 11 students enrolled in the precision machining program at Plymouth High School received a National Institute for Metalworking Skills certification. Precision machining is a fully functioning machine shop that is geared to provide juniors and seniors of the North Central Area Vocational Cooperative entry into advanced education machining. This program is designed to train students for employment in a variety of occupations, and also it gives them a head start if they decide they want to go to Ivy Tech or Purdue and major in an area of this that's related to engineering. So we've got that off and running. Karen Ted Brown, our Director of Safety and Security, has now trained close to 40 school employees to be members of their school's CPI team. Each school will have a CPI team that is trained to use practical skills and strategies to safely manage disruptive or difficult behavior while balancing the responsibility of care. And this is something that is important we're trying to get as many people trained in this as possible, because if you're not trained in it and you run into a fight and you try to get involved in it and one of the kids gets hurt, as a teacher or administrator, you could be responsible for the injuries. So we want almost as many people as possible trained in this so they know what to do if they run into a situation. But we are going to have teams in every building designated that if there is a situation, we can put the call out and those team members can get there quickly and know how to try to manage the disruptive or difficult behavior that is happening.
Remind me what CPI stands for.
Let's see, we just had it. It is something inventory. Well, I can't find it. Crisis prevention. What is it?
Crisis prevention intervention.
Intervention.
Thank you.
High expectations. Our first grade classrooms corporation-wide recently completed a research unit. The units ended with classrooms sharing what they had learned with their peers, families, and community members. We had zookeeper presentations where students were presenting facts about the animals they had researched, and a live wax museum where students were playing the role of famous people. And everything I heard about it, that was a very successful unit, enjoyed by all, and they learned a lot. Recently, the area schools, including Plymouth, were out of school for 2 days due to the snowstorm that hit the area. because of the teamwork between teachers and their students, we were able to continue having school through the internet and through their computers. This wasn't something easy to do. It's taken a great deal of training and preparation to carry this off successfully, and I'm glad this hasn't been a year where we've had just those day after day after day, because it allows our teachers and our students all to get in practice. So if we do have one of those winters where we have to do a lot of it, we'll be better at it than we are now. Integrity. Senior Garrett Garber was the Plymouth student selected to carry the bicentennial torch. Garrett was chosen after he wrote an essay entitled, "What Does It Mean to Be a Hoosier?" Congratulations to Garrett. Enjoyment. The boys basketball sectional returns to Plymouth tonight as we speak. Plymouth plays Wednesday night. Upcoming meetings will be Tuesday, April the 12th, 2016, and the board will meet at 7 o'clock at the same place. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions? Any comments, on agenda items from folks? Thank you all for coming. Anything else from the board? And if not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.